Hi everyone, my name is Lee Lang Mi. I'm a junior transfer student from New York City. My major is economics with sociology and a minor in business administration. For my book review, I have decided to read The Slavery, Borderland, Freedom, and Bondage Along the Ohio River. The author is Matthew Salafia. It was published by the University of Pennsylvania Press on October 26, 2017. The type of history includes political, social, economic, with cultural and ethnics. Salafia proclaimed that these systems of labor were not as much as they evolved along a continuum shaped by life along a river, meaning she believed that Ohio River is not just a flowing borderland that separates slavery and freedom, but to unite both the South and North together. The Ohio River, in the confluence of two rivers, the Allegheny and the Monongahela, in western Pennsylvania, where it flows in opposite directions. The Ohio Valley borders the mainstream of the river in the state of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, India, and Illinois. The drainage of Ohio united the north and south bank for thousands of miles for a human to be engaged with the river for division. The river is also a hunting ground for Ohio Indians that mark the edge of the French and British Empire, which separate Indian country from the colonial backcountry and eventually lead to the division of slavery and freedom in the United States. During the Northwestern Ordinance of 1787, the legislation between slavery and freedom became the newest manifestation of the Ohio River Valley borderland, but the combination of natural and human force defined the Ohio River Valley as a borderland long before Americans can fix the label on the river. In the chapter, it was said that Ohio Indians used the river as a border to preserve the game, which is basically their hunting ground game since their life depends on it. Most deer meat in their supplement in their diet. Their skins are valuable commodities to Europeans. Anglo-Europeans used the river as an avenue of trade. In order to connect the wide geographical area from New Orleans up to the Great Lake, the French relied on settlements situated along the major rivers. The Mississippi River was the primary area in connecting the northern and southern reach of the French Empire. Like, they would collect beaver pelts from the Great Lakes region and deerskin, which is down further south along the Ohio River. Around the mid-century, the Ohio River was an unofficial boundary that is between French and British land that emerged, where Ohio Indians would use the river to facilitate the movement of goods and people between the empire. But because of the growth in trade, it encourages both French and British traders to follow Native American migrants into the Ohio Valley, threatening the peace of the borderland. Towards the cash-poor economy of Kentucky, slaves were valuable commodities. The white Kentuckians offered slaves as collateral for debts, bartered for goods with slaves, gave them as wedding gifts, and also bequeathed them to their heirs and sold them for cash. Slaves were valuable even if slave owners don't really need to use them for their own goods, or just in general, they don't need them. White Kentucky efforts to reduce enslaved African American to strengthen the slave system. The modification helped spread slavery which also created common interests in the maintenance of the institution that crossed the lines of class. Both the slaveholders and non-slaveholders was able to work together to control the movement of black across the Ohio River. While Kentucky was far from endorsing slavery as positive goods, they show effort to shore up in the Ohio River border by controlling the movement of enslaved and free black, suggesting that white Kentuckians view slavery as permanent institutions. It was said that the line divided slave states from free states in the area between slavery on the southern bank and servitude on the northern one. Ultimately, what had separated the state was the chattel principle, where Kentuckians were firm on their human property. Ohioans and Indians reject human ownership in their states. Once this difference was established as political realities, residents of Ohio River Valley was continuously negotiate the meaning of the border between slavery and freedom until Civil War ultimately destroyed it. Set in Chapter 6, in some consequences to the published narratives, they show how the Ohio River was a borderland to a slave-like experience that characterized both banks. Some fugitives even said that because of the constraints imposed by race north of the Ohio River, freedom as a fugitive was not a desired state in and of itself. African Americans all wanted freedom than to be in slavery. They want equality. However, not all are equal. It even said in some way there was chances for them to escape, but they won't, because they will come with the cost and benefit during an escape attempt, and if failed, there are consequences that will come in, that they can be physically abused or even be sold to others, once if they were captured. That's to say, even though the North in the land of freedom, it is not as easy to go across the river to claim freedom, as there are risks. It is said from Lewis Clark that the perspective of the enslaved, there is no difference between the two of them, that the legally of reclamation mean that the region would always be a borderland, where the borderland of fugitive will never be entirely free. Lastly, after the abolition sank the border of slavery and freedom, the residents reinvented the borderland. Kentuckians joined the Confederacy after the war ended. With the post-war, the borderlanders reinvented the Ohio River border without slavery. With how it is for now, for America, the Ohio River is just a border between the North and South.